Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are and what time you're watching this video. No long fancy intro, really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Subscribing is free and it helps me a ton. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. I've been playing Throne and Liberty for over 200 hours at this point, and something I've always wondered to myself is which of the 4 open world dungeons is the best dungeon to do? Which one has the best drops? Which one has the easiest contracts? Which one is the easiest to navigate? So what I've done over the last couple days is I've used my alt and my main character, and I've farmed 40,000 Abyssal Contract tokens, 10,000 of each dungeon, and today we're going to find out which is the best and which is the worst. So I've broken my findings down into 4 categories. The first being loot drops, not including the pouches. I took a screenshot of my inventory before and after completing each dungeon, and I've compiled together an Excel sheet going over all the different drops I obtained, how much they're worth in the auction house, and therefore which dungeon gave the most lucent from mob drops. The second category is contracts. The third category is a miscellaneous category, such as like the ease of navigation of the dungeon, any lockouts the dungeon provides, Sanctum of Desire. And then the fourth category, I kind of just want to give an overall ranking on which open world dungeon I think the best dungeon is that you should be doing if all else is equal. So the first category being the loot drops that came from mobs. So I've broken down the actual drops in these columns here, going over each dungeon. Then I made a column of the price on the auction house, which would give you this times this, gives you the amount of lucent obtained. And at the bottom, I have a total of which dungeon gave the most lucent. So then I've broken this down into gear drops, ores, gems, and crystals, parchments, and miscellaneous. So we can see that Silas's Abyss dropped no precious gear. Sabtons and the Field General were dropped from Shadowed Crypt. Greaves of the Infernal Herald were dropped in Sardoma Island, and Gauntlets of the Infernal Herald and Flamewrought Bindings were dropped in Sanctum of Desire. So that means the most precious pieces of gear were dropped out of Sanctum of Desire, with Sardoma Island and Shadowed Crypt being tied for second, and Silas's Abyss dropping no precious equipment. Additionally, all the dungeons obviously dropped blue gear. I just literally rounded this up to you're going to sell the traits for 10 lucent, and they're worthless. They're worth 10 lucent, I guess. And here is the amount that each dungeon dropped. Ores, gems, and crystals, I broke out into the type of ore and gem. So these precious mandrid, then the precious mandrid ore, rare mandrid ore. I'm going to try and do this slowly, so if you want, you can pause at a certain point and look at the data yourself. And then I essentially took the price on the auction house. You can't sell the ores on the auction house, but you can sell the gems themselves, and these are the prices. And then I did the same thing for rubrics, the same thing for precious emerald, the same thing for Stalin. And then I took the precious crystal and the precious polished crystal and rare polished crystal as well. And then also went over parchments, and then some miscellaneous things that I guess were worth including, like Rotine, the essence, some saffron, the aggregate, mystic wood, and egg. So these are the amounts. You can pause to take a look at the drop rates for yourself. Here's the respective dungeon they came out of. These are the auction house prices as at today for me. And then here is the multiple of the amount times what it's worth on the auction house gives you this. And at the end, we see that Shadowed Crypt is the most profitable dungeon to run, ignoring the pouches just based on what drops, followed by Sanctum of Desire, followed by Sardoma Island, followed by Silas's Abyss. So here you go again. You can take a screenshot or you can pause the video to take a look at the data. Maybe you're interested in polished crystals. So then the Lucent gain doesn't really apply to you. Or maybe you're interested in skill books and parchments, and then again, then the Lucent really doesn't apply to you. So I wanted to be able to show you all the different types of drops that came from all the different open world dungeons, put them together in something that you can visually see and understand, and then give you a final ranking at the bottom. Next, I want to talk about the contracts. And the contracts are kind of subjective because you ideally will be doing either one, the one that you have the most contracts for, so they're relevant anyway, or two, the one that drops the gear that you need from the pouches. So I didn't go through every single pouch and try and find which one is selling for the most at this point in the auction house. Basically, what I wanted to talk about was the ease of farming the contracts. And this hands down goes to Sardoma Island. You can roll the contracts until you get one that's just a kill, and then you can just run around the cave and kill things. Second up, I'd probably say is Crypt. Crypt is super easy to just farm the same mobs on the second floor or in any of the side rooms or even on the first floor. And then the Berserk and Brazier and the Watcher statue are all in the same place. Super easy to just grapple up and get or grapple down and get. Overall, super easy dungeon to farm. Abyss would probably be the third because you can just pick pockets of the Abyss to go to and get the mobs. So for example, if you want to do abominations, you just go to the little circle thing that you do abominations in, and it's super easy. If you're just going to continuously farm demon hoofs, you can go over to the demon hoofs. The reason it goes below Crypt is that it is sometimes a pain in the ass to get over to, like, for example, if you want to do demon hoofs on the 6th floor and you want to farm them over by the shaman, which I just did today, you have to kind of sit and wait around until that little globe thing will rotate the structure you're on in a way that can get you over to that area. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And then the contracts in Sanctum of Desire, I think, are probably last place, mostly because everything is just so spread out. Like, it's really hard to just take the same contracts and just farm the same area. And whenever you do take different things, like you either take the book or the boss or the Dark Altar or whatever, it's like really annoying to get through the dungeon to get there. So that is definitely why it's last. So in terms of contracts, I would say first place goes to Island, second place Crypt, third place Abyss, and fourth place Sanctum of Desire. Okay, so next the miscellaneous category, and the first thing I have is ease of navigation, which hands down goes to Sardoma Island. Sardoma Island is super easy. You just spawn at the waypoint, you fly over to the cave, you go in the cave, and you're literally done. You just run around in circles with your team. Super easy. Shadowed Crypt, second place. It's almost just as easy. The only thing is sometimes you have to like grapple up and down, which is super easy to navigate. The dungeon itself isn't very complicated. It's honestly fine. Third, I guess, is Abyss, even though Abyss sucks, and so does Sanctum of Desire. So honestly, both those, they're tied for third place. The problem with Sanctum of Desire is everything is really spread out. And then on top of that, some things you have to like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just really poorly done. Sometimes you have to like answer questions to get through, and then if you answer it wrong, then you can't get through and you gotta wait. You have to like bounce between the levels, which is not as easy as just grappling up and down. It's kind of just a miserable experience. And then Abyss is just a fucking nightmare. I hate Abyss. I like walk into Abyss and I get depressed. So first of all, you have to go down all 6 flights of stairs and get the waypoints, which already sucks in itself. Once you get the waypoints and you spend Solent, which is not a lot of Solent, but it's the principle, you spend Solent to go down to the area you want to farm. Then you have to navigate the clusterfuck of a map to even get to where you want to go. And then sometimes along the way. You have to wait for the stupid little orb so you can press G on it or F or whatever your key is, so it rotates the platform you're standing on so you can use the stairs. Oh my god, it's so bad. Everything about it is awful. So I couldn't even tell you which one is worse. Basically, Island, Crypt, Sanctum of Desire, and Abyss both suck. In terms of lockouts, there's literally only one. Sanctum of Desire locks you out unless it's raining. Stupid mechanic. Get rid of it. F tier. Everything else, A tier. It's fine. The last thing under the miscellaneous category I want to talk about is kind of similar to contracts, but kind of different. And that is like the mobs and how easy they are to farm. And I think, again, Island has this down pat. Like, you literally just run around in circles, collect all the mobs they aggro on you, find, you just burn them down, no real problems. Aside from there is a lot of stuns in the Island. Shadowed Crypt, close runner-up. It's pretty easy as well. All the mobs typically spawn in like the same spot. They're pretty close. They're not as close, and it's not as easy. But I would say overall, it's very good compared to the other two. And that's definitely second place. Third place is Abyss. Abyss is kind of annoying because everything is more spread out, but at the same time, you can get contracts for just abominations or just demon hoofs. It's not as intuitive as Crypt, but it's actually not that bad either. So it's going to go in third place. And Sanctum of Desire is a big F, last place. It is so annoying. You have Pyromancers in one section, Hydromancers in one section, Aeromancers in one section, and the ground ones, I forget, in one section. And then on top of that, most of the contracts want you to do 2 different types of enemies. So you have to go to this area where just the Pyromancers are, you got to farm the Pyromancers, and then you got to go somewhere else to get the Guardian or whatever other thing. Sometimes you have to go through the thing that does like true or false questions, which is just stupid. There's no fast way to get between floors, and some of the depending on the contracts you do, you have to bounce between floors. It's not all on the same floor. So yeah, in terms of the mob farming, Sanctum of Desire definitely the worst. So I would say Island, Crypt, Abyss, Sanctum of Desire. Which brings me to my overall rankings. And when I think about going to do more open world dungeons after I've just farmed them back to back to back for the last 3 days, the one that excites me the most to go do is without a doubt Sardoma Island. It is the best to go do. Everybody is always grinding it. You can always get in there, get a group quick. You can burn down mobs really quick. You're just running around in circles farming. It's a good time. And it's simple and easy. Even though it does not have the best drops from the mobs, I still think that overall it's the best experience to do open world dungeons. Second place, Shadowed Crypt. It's also really fine. You just go there, same thing, burn them down, grapple between floors a couple times. Super easy, super intuitive. I don't think it's as good as Sardoma Island, but it is really good, and it is definitely, when I think about farming more dungeons, it is the second one that comes to mind. Also, if you're really in it for the Lucent, it does drop the most Lucent. So on top of being, I would argue, the best one in terms of ease of farming, it does offer the best drops, whereas Sardoma Island does not necessarily offer the best Lucent drops. The third being Abyss, I guess, just because I can go in there anytime. I don't have to wait for it to fucking rain. And then the fourth being Sanctum of Desire. But honestly, I think Abyss and Sanctum of Desire both just suck. They're awful. I would highly recommend you just go do Sardoma Island, go do Shadowed Crypt. If you have to do them because you have the contracts, go do the other two. But my God, they suck. They are not good. So that's it for me. That's my overall rankings. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you agree or disagree and why. And until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.